SACP National Chairperson Blade Nzimande last year penned a document arguing against the party contesting the upcoming local government elections, which has put him up against his successor, that is Solly Mapaila. Nzimande also warned that a growing sense of dictatorship within the party and a lack of coherence. We sit down for an exclusive interview with Dr Blade Nzimande, just to speak on political matters of the alliance, Mr. Nzimande, and also going into your responsibilities within the state. The state of the tripartite alliance. One can liken this situation back to the era of former President Mbeki, and when you are still at the helm of the ANC and you as the General Secretary of the party, is this alliance reached the end of its lifespan?
Well, that's not our view. That's not the view of the SACP or any of the alliance partners. It's also, as we have also interviewed our General Secretary, though I didn't have a chance to look at that interview, you will understand that the issue of the alliance is something that we still regard as very, very, very important. In fact, as far as we are concerned, at this point in time, it's a non-negotiable because of the challenges that are actually facing the country, that we do need to work together and unite as an alliance. Of course, last year the SACP took, not last year now, that would be the year before, took a decision to contest elections, something that was raised at our Congress, albeit inconclusively, but the Special National Congress then took a decision that the SACP must contest local government elections on its own. Of course, the SACP has a right to take that decision. We do. We are an independent organization. But there's always been an emphasis. If and when we do that, we would still not like to see the alliance coming apart, which is the challenge now that we are actually dealing with, that the SACP has taken this decision, but we have committed ourselves to the ANC and to the alliance that we need to have ongoing discussions, even at this time.
Mr. Nzimande, in this document that you penned, I'm just going to go to an extract of it, which speaks extensively. There's a point where you speak about on the misrepresentation, organizational weaknesses, and strategic drift. I want to go to the last point. Thirdly, ideological drift has emerged within certain quarters. Some elements within the party have confused tactical independence with opportunistic adventurism. These elements have mistaken rhetorical radicalism for revolutionary praxis. Conversely, conservative tendencies within the alliance have been used, these excesses, to justify political marginalization of the SACP, which speaks about a lack of cohesion within the structures of the SACP and speaks about democratic centralism that is not being respected, and how the party is unevenly applying this particular resolution. Why did you take it if you penned such a document?
Look, let me just give you a context to this document. Firstly, if you notice, Samkele, I've been reluctant to debate this document because it was unfortunate that the document hit the public space before it was actually published in the publications of the SACP, which is what was my aim, was that it was start firmly as an internal discussion document, of course expressing my own views and making a contribution to an important debate. And the SACP has been doing this since its foundation in 1921. At different moments in our history, there were difficult things. Even the decision that led to the formation of the alliance was heavily debated and disagreements in the SACP. So that was the aim. And it was unfortunate and regrettable, which is what also I said at the Central Committee of the party, that the paper then hit the public in the manner that it did, causing some distress in the party. But the issue of raising the issues that I'm raising there is not in question, because the party has never suppressed anyone from raising any views. And the views I was expressing, I was not disagreeing with the resolution of the SACP. I want to clarify that. Because now that we are raising it, I mean, I've avoided debating it in public. I would have liked to debate it in our own structures. The reason why we are raising some of those views, why I'm raising those views, is because I was of a view that there are a number of questions that we need to address in implementation of the resolution, not against the resolution, in the implementation of the resolution. The issue of dual membership, for instance, is an issue that has arisen. And now the party itself has been raising it, and then my own view was that we need to come together also to plan better and discuss how do we implement these resolutions. There are a number of our own comrades who are raising questions, for instance. I am a mayor of the ANC. I am in the district executive committee of the SACP. What's going to happen to us, you know? Those matters had been raised. It was my own view that we still need a common platform to come together and actually discuss this. Well, Central Committee if need be, or I had raised the issue, the possibility of a special National Congress. Because there are a number of challenges that we face. Also, there is another reality in the SACP that this matter is not new, as the General Secretary, Comrade Solly, said. It's an old matter that we've actually been discussing. And our approach has been that this matter, much as it is raised in the SACP, is not just an SACP matter, it's an alliance matter. That's why we raised it in the ANC. Not exclusively to define this matter, the reconfiguration, but the issue of electoral participation to be part of a broader initiative that we've been calling for to reconfigure the alliance. We can't operate as if it's still prior to 1994. So that's, I thought that is something that I actually need to clarify. I was calling for a debate, but I must say this, Samkele. It's unfortunate that some of my comrades, you know, they then begin to question my integrity as an individual. That's totally against the SACP's practices in the past. I'm saying this, Nzimande is saying this, because I'm protecting my cabinet position. There's no cabinet position I'm protesting. As a matter of fact, Samkele, I may say this in your own program for the first time. I'm no longer interested now. I want to retire from government and parliament. That's where I'm going to. That's why I even felt free that, I mean, one must be able to raise these things because I'm not begging. I've never begged for any position.
In this document, you say chief among these is the erosion of internal cohesion, democratic centrism, the principle of debate before discussion, unity after discussion, and that has been unevenly applied. And you speak about contradictions within the party, a one-man syndrome that is seemingly emerging, and populism. Is there a rift between you and the GS of the party, who's seemingly very radical, if one may put it like that? Judging from his comments, you would have known and heard him on his description of President Donald Trump in the United States. Some of the words were unpalatable of a senior leader.
Well, I don't think that we are at variance with the General Secretary. That's why, Samkele, I'm not very keen to discuss this matter in a public platform, because some of the observations I'm making from my own experience, having been General Secretary of the party, being National Chairperson of the party, some tendencies that are not healthy. I may just mention a few without going into the... There are people who are in the Communist Party now who do not believe in the alliance. And they've been there for quite some time. And that's why it's important that we debate and try and convince each other. We've said we are not going to chase away those, although we try and say a good communist must be in the ANC. That's still our philosophy. The ANC as a broad movement. There are people who are seeing this issue of contesting the election as an opportunity to break the alliance. It's a fact inside the Communist Party. And I was then raising those issues in order to say, let's debate and discuss this, because it would be wrong to seek to address a particular set of problems from a wrong platform. The other thing also that is embedded in that paper is that electoral contestation is important, and the party has taken that decision. But the National Democratic Revolution, or the identity and existence of the party, is not only through electoral politics. Ours is a broader struggle for socialism. We've got a broader mission to build forces for socialism and so on. Electoral contest is just but one terrain. Now, the issue then that we are facing, is there not a danger that in the manner that we handle the electoral contestation may unwittingly actually lead to the breakup in the alliance? Those are some of the things that, in short, without, I don't want to debate this in this platform, I was actually raising. And I feel I'm entitled to actually raise those. Like any other member of the Communist Party who must actually raise this. As I said, I didn't listen to the GS's interview, unfortunately, but I heard clippers. I agree with him entirely because that's the position of the party was articulating. On Venezuela, for instance, I mean, it's completely out of order what Trump is doing. In fact, we are entering a very dangerous phase in global politics, extremely dangerous.
I'm going to get to international matters. I just want to stick on this one of the alliance. The ANC has said those whom are deployees of the SACP within the ANC's elections machinery must recuse themselves from the ANC's elections committee. Is the SACP ready to contest the over 4,500 wards across the country, wall-to-wall coverage, like you see in the ANC, like you see in the Economic Freedom Fighters? Because arguably there are only two parties in this country who can do wall-to-wall coverage. It's the ANC and the EFF.
Well, that's the resolution of the SACP. That's what it says, that we must also actually contest wall-to-wall. It is a fact that the SACP is not organized wall-to-wall. So it's something that will have to be dealt with as the SACP develops its own strategy and to be debated. I don't want to actually run ahead of the party and the discussions in the party about that particular matter. The fact of the matter is that that matter will have to be addressed, including concrete assessment of the strengths and weaknesses of the SACP in different parts of the country in order then, as part of the strategy, to implement the resolution.
Are you aware of any move to expel you from the party, particularly after you wrote this document?
No, I'm not aware of that. I don't know, why would that happen? Why would I be expelled for actually expressing a view? I don't know of anything about that. If there are some people who are thinking of doing that, well, it's their own choice to do that.
Mr. Nzimande, the issue of the SACP standing in the alliance, the last alliance meeting, what was the final conclusion on this matter? There's an alliance summit coming up. KZN has been disbanded. Your ally, Themba Mthembu, the former provincial secretary, they've gone to court. What is your overall perspective of this lack of acceptance of dissenting views?
Well, I don't know whether I would summarize it as that this the lack of acceptance of dissenting views, although there is a danger that we must always watch as the SACP, that we don't use SACP disciplinary structures to sort out political differences. That has actually destroyed many organizations. I hope the party is not going to go that route, because we've never done things that way, that if there is a disagreement, then you use disciplinary process. You want to expel. Now, like you are saying, that I may be charged, for this. So be it if I get charged, by the way. I will never surrender the fundamental principle of the party since 1921, the party and practice of inner debates. And the right, it's in our constitution, the right of any comrade or structure to express their views. That's the heart of the SACP. Now, you're asking me about the discussion at the last meeting. The last meeting was trying to deal with this thing that now that the party is contesting, and the ANC is opposed to that, they've actually said it, though they respect the decision of the party to do that. Let's try and discuss and see how we manage this situation. We have agreed between the party and the ANC that we have to continue the discussion. There were options that were raised, but were never really discussed. We never had the opportunity on how to manage this current situation. And we said, let's go back and then prepare for a further discussion, because everybody is committed to try and save the alliance. What we would not want as the SACP is that saving the alliance means just willy-nilly reversing this decision. But at the same time, the ANC itself must also be self-critical, because we have long raised this matter and say the fact that there are people who are pushing for contestation in the SACP is not just an SACP matter. The ANC has an interest in that. Unfortunately, it wasn't dealt in a manner that we feel it should have been dealt with. That's why, for me, personally, I think that for now, we should desist from attacking each other and rather focus at how we deepen and strengthen the alliance.
Mr. Nzimande, on the issues of government now, you've said you've now planning on retirement. It seems as if you and Samson Gwedemantashe, the nemesis of the party, are planning retirement. What would be your legacy within government, looking at your previous tenure at Science and Technology? You've got the square kilometre array within the country, within the Northern Cape. You've been very passionate about research and science and innovation. What is your legacy?
Well, it's very difficult to talk about oneself, but something that I would like to say without fear of contradiction. I started in higher education, of course. That is where also I think that because I spent longer time, I achieved lots of important things. Respect for TVET College is something that was not there before I actually joined there. Massive expansion of NSFAS, building of new universities, building of skills centers, and just increased access by poor black South Africans to university and vocational education. Those are some of the things that are very important that I actually did, despite the many challenges that are there. Higher education has got many and complex challenges, including the challenge of corruption, by the way. Because some of the problems we face in NSFAS and in other things is because you have to deal with corrupt elements that are actually to do something else. Also in science, I've been in science now since the previous administration. We have done quite a lot of work. For instance, we are now on the verge of starting construction of the square kilometre array proper. One of the things that are important that we have achieved, we have now developed local capacity for vaccine development, vaccines that are needed in the African continent, like coronavirus-related vaccines, papillomavirus vaccine, which is the women's cancer, and a number of other diseases. The latest is actually the local development of a cholera vaccine, which is taken orally. Those are some of the achievements, you know, of my department, including, as I say, the whole area of health innovation. The other recent achievement that one has had is that UNESCO has placed Indigenous Knowledge System as a level 2 center at UNESCO. That is very important because it's us as South Africa who actually have been pushing for that.
But you've also been accused of corruption, particularly around the SETAs, saying the SETAs were used as an eating trough to fund the programs of the party and to fund those whom are cronies associated to you. What did you say to some of those people who raised that particular criticism of your influence within the SETAs at higher education?
I dismiss that, Samkele. No case has been put against me about squandering money from the SETAs or whatever. I think it's become a fashion, especially from some white races, like Outer, because they are white races, to then want to discredit, especially communists, by trying to throw a tag of corruption. Outer doesn't say, by the way, they themselves, in case you didn't know, Samkele, they submitted a long list of people they would like to serve from the SETAs. They themselves. Because they've not been getting those people who they want. Some of them are apartheid-era entrepreneurs who used to actually just exploit the higher education sector. And I stood firm. I said, I am not going to allow these ones because they are accusing people of corruption when the elements of the people that they are working with themselves are very dubious and questionable. I also still reserve my right. If people still continue saying that I've actually been corrupt, they have to prove. And not just throw in something. I have not been accused in a court of law or anywhere of having stolen.
In 30 seconds,
monies.
Mr. Nzimande, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Who's the best president you've ever worked with? Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema, Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa?
No, I don't want to go there. Because I've worked with all these presidents, by the way. I served Madiba, I was in his NEC from 94. And as well as I worked with Thabo Mbeki, at some times our relationship was not that great. Everybody knows that. But I still respect him. I'm sure he still respects me as well. We worked with Zuma. Not only did we work with Zuma, we worked to put Zuma into power. Some people are saying you betrayed Zuma. It's Zuma, if there was any betrayal, who betrayed us by taking a different route, which we hadn't agreed upon. But at some stage, we worked well. He disappointed us. President Ramaphosa, we are working well. I've been working with him for a very long time, since the early 1990s. Thanks, Samuel.
Has he betrayed the working class, Cyril Ramaphosa?
No, I wouldn't come to that conclusion. There are things that, from the SACP standpoint, we don't like, that we think government is doing. But we are in an alliance. That is why we're even talking about the need to have an economic summit so that we address these areas of disagreement.
Thank you very much.
Samkele.
Look forward to seeing you looking after your grandkids and in retirement.
Absolutely, but doing some research and writing as well, which is one thing that I'm very, very preoccupied with.
Thank you very much, Blade Nzimande. That is Dr. Blade Nzimande speaking about his tenure in government, saying now he's ready to retire. He is at Science and Technology. They are in the construction phase now of the square kilometer array. He spoke about the tripartite alliance, the turbulent period, the turbulent waters that the alliance ship is sailing through right now. Will it be a wreckage like the Titanic? Only time will tell. But he does say that there is a growing sense of lack of cohesion, lack of debate, and lack of respect within the South African Communist Party. Doesn't say it's the General Secretary, doesn't say it's anyone, but he says dissenting views are seemingly being disbanded or charged.